All right. Welcome everyone to the podcast. Thank you so much as always for joining me. I'm so grateful to have you here and grateful to dive in with you to the May energy update. Now, May energy is big. It is it is powerful. It is hopping and popping and all of those kinds of things. I have um, five specific points from my guides to share. And I think once we kind of get through it all, it'll make a lot of sense for you. And when I say that the energy is hot and, you know, kind of fiery, but I mean more like things happening. There's a lot of things happening in May. And Spirit's giving me this view of like a lot of world events happening in May. It's almost like a lot of cards fall. But it's not all a negative, but there's a lot of things, and it's really our capacity to see through the illusion. So let me just start into the messages in this episode. So first thing the three guides of the light wanted to talk about is this to remind us all about this new energy and this new terrain. Now, I've been talking about this a ton in my daily videos. If you watch those on YouTube, this new energy and new terrain is a significant thing for us right now. Since the eclipse season that we had in March, we entered into a new frequency, and this new frequency has a different feel to it. And so the way in which you may have dealt with issues that arise, or energetics, or moon cycles, or whatever it might be, the way you would move through it before might very well be different now. Might not all be different, but in this new frequency, it's almost like we're living in a new configuration. Think about it like a geometric pattern. Before the eclipse, we were all living in the template of a certain geometric pattern, and now we're in a slightly different pattern. So when you overlay the energy of the old pattern and try and merge it with the new pattern, it's not going to fit because it's not the same pattern, right? And with that idea, it applies to the way in which we move through things. So when we're in this new energy, in this new terrain, sometimes we find that the modalities that we trusted and used to work don't work anymore. And so it's really about exploring this new energy and this new terrain and what it really means for you. What does it mean for you? How do you feel in this energy? What works for you in this energy now? How do you find you calm your frequencies in this energy? How do you, enjoy fun and play? Maybe your desire for play is totally different. Maybe before you used to feel so much joy and peace in starting a big project and creating something. Whereas now you're like, no, it just doesn't interest me anymore. I want to go play a sport, right? So notice what is different for you, because the sooner you notice what's different and you don't fight it, the sooner you merge with this new frequency. And then the sooner you merge with the new frequency, the sooner this new terrain feels adaptable. It doesn't feel so foreign to you, and there's less resistance within what you're trying to create and do. And it actually really helps you move with the momentum, because we are in a fast momentum year, and that momentum picked up after eclipse season, and it picked up throughout April. And now in May, this momentum is like, it's flying. It's like this wheel flying down the road, and the wheel has its direction and path. And if anything gets in the way, it's going to obliterate it, right? And so you might as well be in flow with this wheel, moving with it. You would rather be running alongside the wheel than running in front of the wheel, right? So that's why Spirit's like, be really curious and really interested in what is new. What does it look like? What does it feel like? How do you want to be in this new energy? And it's not about you not, it's nothing of a lack for you, but rather an invitation to explore something different, okay? In this new frequency, it's adaptation at its finest. So you might notice that people around you are really struggling in this new energy, and maybe you're feeling pretty good, and it's because you have adapted to the new frequency. If you're not adapting, you're in the old frequency, that old geometric pattern. So something to really consider. You get to really be the observer of this environment, this new energy, and then adapt to it in the highest good for you, right? Finding those new things that work for you. Now, the second point about May is May is a month of confrontations, which is unfortunate. I love the month of May. My birthday is in May. So May to me is always like, yay, it's May. But when Spirit said, confrontations are on the rise. They said choose wisely. It really means, again, there's going to be this grinding pattern between the old frequency and the new frequency. And you'll see people will become more confrontational when they're trying to apply those old energies into this new energy. It doesn't work. And so in a way, you'll be able to see which people are already naturally moving into the new frequency and which are resisting big time by the level of agitation that you see in the world around you. And it's going to be really interesting. And so knowing that that is the case, Spirit is saying choose wisely. Don't dive into just any confrontation. Think about what's actually happening, what's moving this confrontation. And, like, is someone coming to connect with you for a fight? Or is it for actual communication and solution finding? Right? Like, you may find even for simple things, say, for example, you are wanting to go on a trip. You and your partner are deciding to go on a trip. And maybe before you were wanting to go to, say, Europe. And now you're like, no, I want to go to South America. And maybe you in the new energy is being pulled to South America. Your partner in the old energy still wants to go to Europe. You're willing to explore both options and be like, okay, let's look at all the things that we could do in either one and then decide. Whereas your partner might be like, no, we decided Europe. We're going to Europe. That's what we're doing. We're not changing it. You can see that their energy may very well be stuck in that old frequency. Therefore, the confrontation might likely become a very stressful one versus if they were in the new energy, what would be a confrontation actually becomes this beautiful point of resolution and decision making, right? So it's really kind of what you do with it, and just be really wise to the energies and the energies of those that you're interacting with, because it'll help you choose wisely. And that's what Spirit's saying. Don't get caught up in all interactions or confrontations. Most of them are not going to be for you. Now, we'll also see that this confrontation energy is heightened because of the unrest in the world, whether you look at it as political unrest, country versus country, economic unrest, you name it. There's a lot of ways in which there's that chaos energy, which can create big confrontation energy in people's opinions. But again, if you pull yourself back, you'll be able to see, where is that energy coming from? Is it coming from fear or is it coming from resolution? And again, you get to choose wisely. So something to consider. Okay. The next point is there is an increasing desire to control from certain factions in our world that is the cause of the increase in the human chaos. And so what I mean by that is it's like, okay, Spirit's showing me if you were sitting there at a park and you've come to the park to have a peaceful afternoon, but then all of a sudden somebody lets out like a wasp's nest or hits a wasp nest off of wherever it was being made, and now all the wasps are whirling around. There's this whirling energy being put into what can be a peaceful environment. And so it's about, are you going to choose to get sucked into it, or are you going to choose to kind of step out of it? So our number 2 point on confrontation is like person to person. The number 3 point is more the general collective energy of chaos. Are you going to choose to get sucked into the chaos, run around with the wasps, swatting them and going crazy, or will you leave that situation and find a different place in the park where the wasps aren't? Right? Are you going to get sucked in, or are you going to choose differently? Because again, the energy is very chaotic, very much that angry waspy energy in May, but you do not need to be a part of it. Just because there's angry wasps in one corner of the park does not mean you have to sit there. You have the free will choice to move to the other side of the park and sit in the peaceful energy. So it's really like, choose what you want to do. And again, remembering this chaos energy is because we're in a new frequency. And so if we look to the energies that are trying to distort and cause the chaos, the waspy energies, they are also in a new terrain energy. And they're noticing that their old modalities and tricks and things aren't working either. And that's frustrating them. So they're getting angrier. They're getting feistier, just like those wasps. But again, you don't have to interact with it. So choose wisely what you want to do in this new energy. Create or get lost in chaos. Now, at the same time, moving on from that chaos idea, the number 4 point is that there is a system override, is what Spirit called it in May. And this system override is this increase in glitches and unexplainable events. Now, if you listen to my galactic message on Thursday, this past Thursday, I was trying to explain what Spirit was bringing, or what the galactics were bringing through about the connection to like the power grid outages in Spain and what's going on. And I couldn't quite get the full message through. I was like, I don't quite understand what you're saying. And so when they explained it further, they were talking about how there's this system override happening on a much higher scale. And with that override happening, it's kind of like these two geometrical patterns, like I was talking about, the old energy, new energy, where the new energy is attempting to override the old energy, but it's creating these glitches and it's creating these burps, it's creating these events. And so you might notice an increase in unexplainable events that happened in the world in May. And you might also notice an increase in glitches. So glitches in conversations, glitches in even your observations of the world. Like, for example, and this might totally throw people, but it literally can happen. As you're driving down the same road you drive, say, to work every day, same road, driving down, no big deal, same thing. The next day you're driving down that road and suddenly there's a tree, an established tree, not freshly planted, where there was not a tree before. And you're like, what? I've never seen that tree. I swear to God, I've never seen that tree before. Why is there a tree there? It was never there before. And then you start to question, like, what? Am I crazy? Am I losing it? But you're not. You're seeing a glitch in the frequency, in the energies, in the matrix. And then the next day you drive by waiting to see that tree and the tree's not there. And it glitched back. And then you're like, what is going on? Did I just make that up? Did I dream it? And we try to use all these like logical explanations for it. But this is what Spirit is talking about, is there's this system override happening right now that's causing glitches. So you might notice these glitches in even conversations with people where somebody remembers the conversation one way and you're like, no, the conversation was very different. Tangible things. Like you may remember the person wearing, say, a striped white and red shirt when you talk to them, and they're like, no, I had a blue shirt on that day. And it's just these glitches in the energy right now with the system override will create these unexplainable events. And so I find that really interesting. Now, within those glitches, there's also this energy of the, let's say, darker human collective energies that are pushing against the trajectory of human consciousness awakening and sending in these kind of waspy situations into these glitch moments too. So what Spirit is asking within that is my number 5 point, which is step back to see through the illusion. And this again was what Spirit was talking about on Thursday. They said, in order to understand what's happening is you have to see through the illusion. You have to step back and see the reality of what's happening. And sometimes seeing the true reality of what's happening will bend the understandings in our mind. It won't make sense in our mind. And an example of that is I had somebody in one of my groups. There was this experience where we went into a meditation and she was brought by her guides to this red planet where there was construction happening and civilizations being built. Right? And as we know it right now, there's apparently no life on Mars and there's nothing happening on Mars. But if we see through the illusion of what we're being told and we follow the essence of what we're getting from our intuition, from Spirit, and we're seeing civilization already being created on Mars, that's like Spirit saying, hey, see through the actual illusion and you will see the truth of what's happening. And so I find that really interesting because they're asking us to release further, to push further into the new energies, which are not bound by the reality and physics that we have been raised upon. And this is really going to ask us to bend our minds. And it's going to confront us with things that just do not make sense, right? We're like, well, it's not possible because, if we take Mars again, well, NASA said they're not there, and who else would go there? And it's like, but what do you not see? What is behind this illusion of what you're being shown? And now that doesn't mean that everything we're seeing on the planet is an illusion either, right? This is where these two frequencies are converging, and one is essentially going to reign supreme. But in that, when the two of them are kind of pushing against each other, there is a lot of room for glitch, a lot of room for unexplainable events, a lot of room for crazy things happening. So with that, Spirit is saying, see through this illusion. Now, coming back to power outages in Spain, to me, that feels very much, um, it feels very earthy to me, some sort of earth space connection, um, glitchy, pesky energy, I'm going to say. However, stepping into May, June, and July, we are stepping into the peak of this solar cycle, and we are going to see bigger solar events happening. And so there is potential for different blackouts and solar events like this. I do not see the big, great solar flash that a lot of people have been fearing. My guides have not been showing me that that is in our reality now, this massive planet-ending flash. I don't see that. But when we do step into a higher solar cycle, there is a higher capacity for the geomagnetics to actually bump out our power systems for a time being. We could see some of that. However, I don't see that being the connection with what happened in Spain. It's connected into like glitches and such. Glitches and pesky things that transcend the concept of our minds of what is possible. And that's the best way I can explain it. So with those 5 points, the three guides of the light really wanted to bring through the message that it's so valuable for us to remember that change comes from chaos. That, like they'd said before, and I brought through this channeled message in one of my classes, that things don't often change on our planet if they are okay. There's no need to change it. There isn't a big enough force to create the change on the big scale in which it's needed. Chaos is what is needed to create the change. And unfortunately, chaos is not a pleasant thing, but chaos is also a very natural part in the universe. So whether you agree or disagree with the type of chaos that's happening, that's entirely up to you. That's not for me to say what's right or wrong based on your personal perspective of your soul journey. However, the three guides of the light wanted to say that the experience of change through chaos is a most likely way in which things have to shift when you're rising in consciousness in a planet. That it is planets that are already holding much higher frequencies that have the capacity to change without chaos. They're able to come together and create a change together from a point of peace to better something. But that's because they're already coming from that non-warring frequency, whereas planet Earth is coming from a war frequency, a beat the opposition down in order to gain. And that is what creates the chaos. And so we are energetically in this chaos frequency, but the chaos frequency is creating the change. Because if you remember, a couple months ago, I think I mentioned it in the podcast, but also in Cosmic Consciousness Circle, which I hold once a month, which is a deep dive into really interesting topics. Spirit talked about how there were people being put in positions of power that were of the light to be able to bring about the benefits within the chaos and change. And so I find that really interesting. And so this is, if we come back to that number 5 point that they brought up, which was to see through the illusion, is if we start to look at the chaos on our planet right now as the frequencies needed for change in this density that we're in, whether we are living in that density personally, which many of you watching this, most of you watching this, listening to this, you're not living in that density. You're in a much higher density. But the planet collective is in the lower density. And so in order for it to change, it has to change through chaos. So if we look at it that way, the fact that things are so epically chaotic means we are in such a transformational point. And the people stepping into those positions of power to be able to help create proper growth through this chaos. Some of them we've seen, some of them have yet to be seen. Speaks of the magnitude of the time we're in right now. And so the more that you hold on to your frequency and your outlook, doing the things that you can to create the impact that you can within your reach, within your soul purpose, has a huge impact on the change happening on the planet. And it is purposeful. So hopefully that can help all of you, reset your perspective on the energy of May versus allowing May to take you down, because May has an energy to take you down or massively empower you. And remember, Spirit said, the three guides of light said that 2025 was a year of empowerment or agitation. And we've been seeing that. But May is when we really get to anchor into what sort of team you're aligning with. Are you aligning with empowerment or are you aligning with agitation? Choose wisely, like they said. It's new energy, new frequency, new terrain. So I hope this helps you move through May with peace of mind and also a wisdom, a personal inner wisdom that helps you really kind of stand up in your power. And that's really what I wish for you. So I will leave that with all of you for now. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me. I appreciate it. I would love to ask you to please share, subscribe, hit the like button, or rate the podcast wherever you are listening to this or watching this. And I'm grateful for your ears and your willingness to hear what the three guides of the light have to say. So thank you so much, everyone. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week.